Hello, everyone. Welcome to Catherine's ESL classroom. In today's lesson, we are going to focus and learn about simple past and present perfect. Many people today are having some confusion about the two differences. Well, the differences are the simple past is an action that happened in the past. Present perfect is an action that happened in the past, but it's continually happening up to the present point. It could be something that's vague or unclear, or it can even be something that happens regularly. So let's get started and learn some more. So welcome, everyone. Today's lesson, are you ready? Simple past versus present perfect. So let's review. Simple past. Simple past is used to talk about actions that happened at a specific moment in the past. So this is the present. As you will notice, I'm giving you a timeline. The timeline is, think of the time that happened. So think of, you have your present point, then you have yesterday, or 3 days ago, or even last week, last month, such as in August, or even 2 years ago, say, for example, in 2019. So anything that happened in the past was an action that specifically happened in the past. These are just some examples. The verbs may be regular or irregular. We must conjugate the verb the same way for any person. For example, you have your regular words, your verbs that end in ed. For example, work. What would be the simple past for the regular verb work? Worked. What would be the regular verb for live? Lived. Are you repeating after me? Come on, join in the class. What would be the simple past of the verb cook? Cooked. Very good. What would be the regular verb for dance of the simple past? Danced. Study turns into, here's a tricky one, studied. Remember, the Y turns into the I when it's the simple past. Now your irregular verbs. You have your direct form. So that means that you have to kind of memorize these, okay? Because they're not the regular verbs. They don't end in ed. So the simple past for the irregular verb go is went. What about sleep? Slept. Buy is bought. Speak, spoke. Send, sent. Okay, so these are some of the simple past regular verbs and irregular verbs, okay? For example, Susan forgot her book at home last class. You see, forgot is the past form of the verb forget. Last class is, it's working as a time expression. Remember the past, it's before the present, okay? So it's an action that happened a specific time in the past. So the last class was that specific time. more simple past. We want to go a little bit deeper, okay, on the negative form. In the negative form, we use the auxiliary verb did plus not equals didn't. Whenever we use the auxiliary verb, we don't conjugate the main verb, meaning we don't go from didn't to did not, okay? I'll give you some examples. Sarah didn't call me last night, okay? Didn't is the auxiliary verb. Remember, the auxiliary verb is the helping verb. What do you think is the main verb here? Call. This is the base form. Here's another example. Megan and Peter didn't come to the party. Didn't, remember, the auxiliary verb. And come is the base form. Okay, that was pretty simple, right? So a little bit more on the simple past. The interrogative form, do you remember what that is? So think about that this comes from interrogate. What happens when you interrogate? What are you doing? You're asking a question or a series of questions. In the interrogative form, we use the auxiliary verb did before the subject. Whenever we use the auxiliary verb, we don't conjugate the main verb. Did you take pictures at the party? Now, you notice here the auxiliary verb. What is the auxiliary verb again? It's that helping verb. Okay, so it's helping the base form of the main verb take, to take. Did you take pictures at the party? This is asking your question or the interrogative form. That was a tricky word, right? So let's go over a little bit of pronunciation too, just so we get this perfect. Interrogative, how do we say this? Interrogative, which ones have you heard before? So just think of interrogate. Interrogate, that's the action or the verb, and the noun is interrogative. Okay, one more time, interrogative. Great job. Here's another example. Did you watch the movie last night? Did is the auxiliary verb or the helping verb. Now, what's the base form or the main verb? Watch. Okay. Now you notice here in the interrogative form, it says here, did you take pictures at the party? Okay. So this happened specific time at the party. Okay. Because you went to the party. Did you watch the movie last night? Okay. That's a specific time, last night. Okay. Now, present perfect. So we just covered simple past. Now, what's with the simple past before we get to the present perfect? It's an action that happened at a specific time in the past. Okay, now present perfect. So the rule here is you have the subject plus you have or has plus the past participle. Don't worry, I'll help you what these are again. It connects the past to the present. The action started in the past and continues up to the present. For example, Anna has studied English since 2018. There's a result in the present. The result is more important than the moment in which the action happened. Let me repeat that. The result is more important than the moment in which the action happened. For example, I have eaten a sandwich. because I'm hungry. Okay, so that's the result. I'm hungry. So I have eaten a sandwich. Okay. Repeated actions at different times. For example, I have been to Canada 5 times. You see 5 times, it's a repeated action. Okay, remember, we're going to go over more of the present perfect to have a fuller understanding. You know why? Because we're going to test your knowledge at the end, because I know that's where you want to be right now so you can master life experiences. I have never eaten liver. My cousin has already lived in Germany. Unfinished time. Unfinished time, you have the chance to change things. For example, I haven't visited my best friend this week. So that means I haven't had a chance to visit my best friend. You say this week, that means you haven't had a chance this week to visit your best friend. You can also replace it with this month, this year, this morning, today, and so on. Present perfect also with recently completed actions. For example, time is not specific because it's recently completed actions. For example, the baby has just woken up. Now, you notice the main verb here is an irregular verb. Okay, because it was just. Past participle of wake. Okay, so just is the time is not specific. It just happened. Okay, it could be 2 seconds ago. It could be maybe 20 minutes ago, but usually it's within, 1 minute to maybe 20 minutes. Now, a little bit more on present perfect because we want to get this just right. The structure of the present perfect is formed by, for example, you have your pronouns I, you, we, they. Remember your structure. So you're not going to say I has, you're going to say I have, you have, we have, they have. And then you have he, she, it with has, okay? So just to help you when you use have or has. Plus your past participle. I know you love these, that's why we're going to practice. You have your past participle and you have your base form or your main verb. Now, what would be the past participle of play? Now you have your simple past. Wanted to trick you there. Okay, so remember your base form, your simple past, and your past participle. So play turns into played for simple past because it happened as an action specific time in the past. Play also turns into played with the past participle when we use has or have. Now remember your regular verbs always end in ed. Find, found, found. Now, is this a regular verb or is this the irregular verb? Remember the rule, what ends in ed, and if it doesn't end in ed, what would it be? Just getting you to think. Choose, chose, chosen. Is it regular? Does it end in ed? Remember, we went through this. Irregular, okay? That means it's a different form, okay? You see the non-equal sign, the two lines, and the line through it, that's a different form, or it's not the form, meaning not the form of the regular verb, okay? So closed, driven, eaten, left, told. Now, which are the regular verbs? The ones with the ed. Which are the ones that are irregular? The ones that do not end in ed. How do we remember that? We have to memorize them. Drunk. You like that one, right? Are you drunk on learning present perfect yet? Okay, more on present perfect. Negative form. In the negative form, we use the auxiliary verbs have or has plus not. Haven't. What would be the negative form of has plus not? Remember, it's a contraction. Hasn't. We have I, you, we, they. Now, would we use haven't or hasn't in this one? I haven't or I hasn't? Haven't. Now you're getting the hang of it. Amazing job. I'm so proud of you. He, she, it. So would this be haven't, he haven't, or he hasn't? What is it? Hasn't. See, now you're going to be teaching the class to others. Plus, closed, driven, eaten, left, told. What would these be? Are these a mix of regular and irregular verbs, or are they only one or the other? Remember drunk? Are you drunk on present perfect yet? Okay, so now we went over these. Now here's an example. The kids haven't finished their lunch. She hasn't cooked dinner yet. You notice here with the auxiliary verb, haven't, hasn't, this is not conjugated, okay? That means that you wouldn't say the kids have not finished their lunch. You could if you really need to stress the word not, okay? But in regular conversation, we don't conjugate the auxiliary verb haven't or hasn't. Okay, are you drunk yet on present perfect? We got some more. The interrogative form. Do you remember what interrogative form was? Now, interrogative is the noun for interrogate of the verb. What are we doing when we interrogate? Think detective. We question, okay? In the interrogative form, we use the auxiliary verbs have or has before the subject. For example, have, I, you, we, they. Has, he, she, it. Is this getting too easy for you yet? Okay, now you tell me, is this a regular verb or is this an irregular verb? Remember, have I closed? Have I driven? Have I eaten? Have I left? Have I told? Now, all the ones that have the en and the t and the d, now I'm trying to confuse you. Don't worry. The ones that end with the ed are the regular verbs. Everything else you have to memorize. Remember drunk? Okay. Now you have your Interrogative form with your question mark is you asking a question. For example, has Jane left a message to me? Has Jane left message to me? Okay, so help me out in asking this question. Has Jane left message to me? Could that be a text? Could that be maybe you're waiting when you were into the store and she missed you and you're looking to see if she left you a message? Okay. Have they brought their books? Well, have you brought your books to this class? Okay, now let's practice. Now, we're just practicing together. This is not the quiz yet, okay? Now, remember the simple past versus the present perfect? Here are some great examples. Simple past, I worked a lot yesterday. So how would we say this in the present perfect? Well, this happened yesterday, a specific time, okay? An action that happened at a specific time. The action is worked. Now, if the action happened in the past and it's continually happening or repeated, how would we say this? I've worked a lot lately. Okay, so lately is something that's been repeated. Okay, so it can be something that's happened continuously up to the present. It could be something that happened repeated, or it could be something that's kind of vague where you're not sure and how long it's going to be. Let's practice. I didn't call my sister last night. Now, how could we say this in the present perfect? I haven't called my sister these days. Okay. Now, these days is just an example. Okay. You can use another word. My sister traveled to Maine last year. So how could we say this in the present perfect? My sister hasn't traveled to Maine more than once. Simple past. The teacher talked about simple past last class. The teacher has talked about simple past. Okay, you see the difference here? So you see how we added last class because that was a specific point in time. It happened last class. Okay, if it's vague or something that's repeated or up to the present point, we just kind of end it. Okay, or we can say up to today. Now, that's my trick question. That's my bonus. Would that be the simple past or would that be the present perfect if I said up to today? Ed went home after class. How could we say this? Ed is not here. He has gone home. Did you watch the news this morning? Have you watched the news recently? Okay, so recently is in parentheses. That means when we say, have you watched the news? It usually means recently, but not exactly. So it's actually best if you say recently, just because it could be a question mark where someone might say, when was the news? So that might be a question, and then it becomes interrogative, okay? All right. Now I'm giving you a cheat sheet. You know why? Because I want you to kind of have this handy so this way you can go over it before we take our quiz. Okay. So the past simple is basically specific times in the past, like we talked about. For example, yesterday, 5 minutes ago, in 2000, the other day, or last month, okay? Examples, I went to the park yesterday, or I studied in China in 2010. Now the present perfect. Present perfect are vague times in the past, okay? Because they're not specific. Vague meaning unclear, you're not sure, or it could be something that was reoccurring. For example, ever or never, not yet, already, so far, to date, till now, up to the present. Examples, I've never gone to the park. I haven't been to China yet. You see how it's vague, it's unclear, okay? So remember, past simple happened before the present time. It was a specific point in the past, okay? Present perfect is happened in the past and it's continually happening up to the present, okay? What do you think? Knowledge check. Okay, get ready. Okay. Now you see the main verb live in parentheses at the end of this sentence. So what you're going to do is you're going to tell me if we're going to use the past simple or if we're going to use the present perfect. So remember, you have to conjugate the verb to either past simple or present perfect. Janet blank in Puerto Rico for a year when she was 12 years old. What could it be? Now, I circle this to give you a hint, okay? When she was 12 years old, lived, okay? It happened a specific time in the past, okay? So I'm going to help you every step of the way. So this way you can master simple past versus present perfect. Here we go. Now the main verb is see, to see. Okay, so how would we say this? I'm going to give you a hint. It's the question form or interrogative. Blank you, blank Julie today. What could it be? Now remember, today. Unfinished time. I'm giving you more hints. Have you seen Julie today? Now, is seen a regular verb or an irregular verb? That's right, it's an irregular verb. What is the main verb? Live, to live. My mother blank in Portugal for 5 years. Now I circle this for 5 years. From past to present, giving you more hints. My brother has lived in Portugal for 5 years. Fantastic job. I'm so proud of you. Now, what's the main verb? Go or to go. I blank to the movies last night. What's the hint? Last night. I went to the movies last night. Outstanding job. I'm so proud of you. Ouch. I blank my finger. What's the main verb? Cut or to cut. Give you the hint. It's the result. I have cut my finger. Okay. What's the main verb here? Be or to be. He blank here all morning. He, okay, giving you more hints. All morning. Unfinished time or connection from the past to the present. So you should get this one now. He has been here all morning. Fantastic. What's the main verb here? Break or to break. She blank her leg the day before the exam. What could be some hints in this sentence? The day before the exam. Broke, okay? It happened at a specific time in the past. What's the main verb here? Finish, to finish. I blank my homework. Now I can watch Netflix. Yay. I've finished my homework. I know this was getting so easy now. Now, extra bonus. Do we not conjugate I've? Could we say I have finished my homework? Well, in the helping verbs, the auxiliary verbs, we don't conjugate it, okay, in the present perfect, unless we want to stress the word have. I have finished my homework. But if you do that, it sounds like you're a little angry or stressed out. So be careful. Now, we're going to put together either the present simple or the present perfect. Now, what happens when we use the main verbs not come? What happens to that? So let's say the sentence. We blank home early last Saturday. Okay, early last Saturday. Giving you some hints. Now, what could it be? Didn't come. We didn't come home early last Saturday. You did it. Fantastic. What about this one? First, what's the main verb? Talk. To talk. Okay. Is this a question or is this a statement? This is a question. And what do we call this? What's the one we do? We're interrogating. Interrogative. This is the interrogative form where we're asking questions. Okay. Blank, you blank to Julie 2 hours ago. How would we do this? I'm kind of giving this away because now we have 2 blanks. Remember, 2 hours ago, did you talk to Julie 2 hours ago? Okay, fantastic. All right, here's another one. Not answer is the main verb. All right, not to answer. So how would we conjugate that? She blank all the questions. Okay, is this happening at a specific time in the past? Or is this happening a specific time in the past that's led up to the present time? So what could this be? Now remember the result. She hasn't answered all the questions, okay? Great job. Fantastic, everyone. I'm so happy that you joined me today in learning with Miss Catherine on the ESL. What did we learn? Simple past versus present perfect. Bravo, everyone. Until next time, bye.